Number 1.
Number 1. Listen to a teacher talking to students.
Okay, can everybody stop working? We have got a broken bottle on the ground, and broken glass is really dangerous. So this is what we'll do. Ted, can you go get a broom from the storage room? And can everybody else look at the ground near you? If there are any big pieces of glass, carefully pick them up and put them into this trash can.
Why might the students need to clean up? Number 2. Listen to a teacher talking to a class. It's just about time for our class to go over for school photos. Check that your uniforms are neat and your hair is tidy. If anyone needs a jacket or tie, there will be some spares by the photographer. When you're ready, please line up at the front of the classroom by the door from smallest to tallest. Then we will make our way to where the photographer is. What will the students do next? Number 3. Listen to a teacher talking to a class.
Today is the school's anniversary. Our school was founded 67 years ago. Because it's the anniversary, we're all going to go down to the gymnasium after lunch with all the other classes and have a celebration. The principal will give a speech, we will listen to a live band play some music, and there will also be a magic show. Are you excited?
What is the subject of the announcement? Number 4. Listen to a sports teacher talking to a class. Before we start our game, we need to do a few warm-up exercises to loosen our muscles. So first, we'll jog on the spot for a few minutes, and then we'll do some stretches. We'll stretch our leg muscles, our hamstrings and calves, our shoulders and back. After that, we'll be in good shape to play a game of football. What will students do next? Number 5. Listen to a principal making an announcement to students.
This summer, students will be allowed to wear sports shoes during break time and lunchtime, if they're playing sports outside. Feel free to bring some sports shoes to school. However, when you travel to and from school, make sure you wear your black school shoes. That way, everyone will look very nice out in the community. Also, remember to keep your shoes clean and nicely shined each day.
What is the purpose of the announcement? Number 6. Listen to a teacher talking to a class. The school speech contest is coming up next month. We're looking to get a student from each class to go in the speech contest. You can talk about anything you want. You will have to give a speech that lasts between 4 and 5 minutes. As a special incentive, whichever student does the speech for our class will get a very special prize. Put your hand up if you're interested. Why does the teacher mention a prize? Number 7. Listen to a principal making an announcement at a school.
At lunchtime this week, the parents group will be selling freshly baked cookies. You can buy a cookie for 50 cents or 3 for $1. There are chocolate cookies, plain cookies, and other cookies. All the money that gets raised this week is going to help us to buy some new equipment for the sports room.
What is the purpose of the announcement? Number 8. Listen to a teacher talking to students. This term, during Thursday afternoon sports time, you can choose what activities you'd like to do. The choices include learning golf, going bowling, making go-karts, and going rock climbing, as well as playing traditional sports like tennis and baseball. I'm going to hand you out a form now. You have to write down from 1 to 3 your top choices. We can't guarantee you'll get your top choice, but we'll try. Why must students write their choices from 1 to 3? Number 9. Listen to a farmer talking to students on a field trip.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bill, and I'm the manager of this farm. It's a dairy farm, which means we have a lot of cows, and from those cows we make a lot of dairy products. Some of the cheese or milk or cream you eat at home may have been produced right here. The cows are usually milked in the morning and afternoon. We used to do that by hand, but we have machines to do that now. At the moment, we'll have around 1,000 cows on the property, and if you look over to the left, you'll see a very tiny baby cow that was born just 2 days ago.
What will the students probably do next? Number 10. Listen to a teacher talking to a class. Recycling is a very important part of life for humans. Because of global warming and the greenhouse effect, it is clear that we have to try and change some of our habits. We used to just throw everything away, but now we are attempting to reuse more and more things in order to save the environment. At school also, we've got a new recycling program. If you have any papers, plastics, or books to throw away, you can take them outside to the recycle bins. There's one for papers and plastics, and also for cans. We no longer throw those things in the regular trash can. The environment can be saved if we all work together. What does the teacher imply about the environment?
Now you will hear some conversations. Each conversation will be followed by 3 or more questions. Choose the best answer to each question and mark the letter of the correct answer on your answer sheet. You will hear each conversation only one time.
Questions 11 through 14. Listen to a conversation between 2 friends at school. Gary, isn't this a great baseball stadium we have at our school?
Yeah, it is. I just wish I could play baseball, and then I would be able to actually play on the wonderful stadium.
What do you think about the new scoreboard?
I really like it, but I don't understand all of it.
What don't you understand? I go to the baseball stadium with my dad all the time, and he explains all the parts of the scoreboard. It's really fascinating.
I don't know. I just kind of know that the batter's name is up there and the score. And you can see how many strikes they got. But those other numbers, I don't really understand.
What they put up are different pieces of information that they think people may be interested in. There are different statistics about the various players. You've got the game score, which inning it is, and so forth. A long time ago, scoreboards were manual. There were people up there who had to change the numbers by hand. And those numbers were really big and heavy. It was a busy job to do. But it would have been pretty exciting, don't you think?
I do. Thanks for introducing those things. Hey, I can't read that sentence at the bottom. What is that all about?
Oh, don't worry about that. It's not about baseball. That's just a message from an advertiser. Now answer the questions. Number 11. What are the speakers mainly discussing? Number 12. What can be inferred by the conversation? Number 13. What is Shelley referring to when she says, "It's really fascinating"? Number 14. According to the passage, what were scoreboards like a long time ago? Questions 15 through 17. Listen to a conversation between 2 friends. Zach, what are you doing on your hands and knees like that?
Oh, hi, Fiona. I'm actually trying to get my keys back. What happened is that I was walking home from school, and I took out my keys, and when I did, they fell through the grate here. Now they're down there, below the ground, and I don't know how to get them back.
That's really bad luck. I have never heard of anything so unfortunate.
Right? I can seem to get my hand through the grate just a little of the way, but I can't quite reach my keys. I'm a few inches short of my keys. That's frustrating.
I can see your keys. It looks like there are a lot of them. Tell me, why are there so many keys?
2 of the keys are for my house, and then there's a key for my bike. There's also a really old key that I found and I just like the look of. And then there's a key for my grandmother's house. So these keys are really important to me. There's no way I can get by without them.
I see.
I've also got some accessories on my key ring. Can you see the tiny blue key light?
I see it. Anyway, can I help you get the keys?
I'd love some help. Do you have any ideas?
I think it's dangerous trying to lift the grate or sticking your hand in. What happens if your hand gets stuck? But why don't we try to reach in with a thin stick? It's safer, and there's more chance of fetching your keys.
Good idea, Fiona. Let's give it a go.
Now answer the questions. Number 15. According to the passage, what is true about the keys? Number 16. Why does Zach say, "That's frustrating"? Number 17. What will the speakers probably do next? Questions 18 through 21. Listen to a conversation between a student and a teacher at school.
Excuse me, Mrs. Albright, are you busy?
Not at the moment, Scott. What can I do for you? Are you having some kind of problem with class?
Actually, I wanted to talk to you about the book.
You want to talk about the book? The science book we use in our class, I presume. Sure, what about it?
I just want to say that I have been reading it on my own, and I think it's very fascinating.
I'm glad you like it, but I'm sure you didn't come here just to tell me that.
No, I didn't. Actually, I read the whole book and it has made me very interested in science and biology, and I was wondering if you could recommend any similar books that I could read in my spare time.
I'm very happy to hear this. I didn't know you were so interested in science, Scott.
Actually, I used to hate science. It was my least preferred subject. But since I've been studying science in your class and with this book, I have found it to be my favorite class.
That's excellent news, and it's very fortunate that you stopped by when you did. Here's a book I've been reading. It's similar to our textbook. I'm sure that if you like our textbook, you'll find this equally fascinating. Please enjoy reading it, and if you like it, bring it back, and I'll find something else for you to read.
Thanks so much, Mrs. Albright.
Now answer the questions. Number 18. Why did the student visit the teacher? Number 19. What is true about the student? Number 20. What will most probably happen next? Number 21. What does the teacher imply about the textbook? Questions 22 through 25. Listen to a conversation between two friends at school. Hey, Sean, wasn't that a difficult art test?
Yes, it really was. I studied all night last night. I didn't sleep at all because I was trying to get ready for it, and still it was tough.
So, were you feeling good before the test?
Well, although I studied a lot, there were still some things I wasn't really feeling that confident about, like the section on post-impressionism.
That was a pretty easy part for me. I really like Van Gogh and Monet, and a lot of the artists who were a part of that artistic movement. Most of the art on my bedroom wall is from that era.
Then what part of the test was difficult for you?
Oh, definitely it was the part about surrealism. You know, especially Dali. I don't know much about him, and I have never found that kind of art to be very accessible.
Are you kidding? That's the most interesting part. I think his works are some of the most accessible. Take, for example, the piece called Soft Clocks. It's really nice.
I disagree. Anyway, did you guess many of the answers?
Yeah, I had to make quite a lot of guesses.
Maybe some of them will be right if you're lucky. The good thing is, if you guess wrong, you don't lose any points.
You're right. That is good news. Let's cross our fingers and hope for a good score, Robin.
Yes, let's. Now answer the questions. Number 22. What are the speakers mainly discussing? Number 23. What can be inferred about the speakers? Number 24. What is the girl referring to when she says, "I disagree"? Number 25. When the boy says, "That is good news," what is he referring to?
Now you will hear some talks and discussions about academic topics. Each talk or discussion is followed by 4 or more questions. Choose the best answer to each question and mark the letter of the correct answer on your answer sheet. You will hear each talk or discussion only one time.
Questions 26 through 29. Listen to a teacher talking in a history class. Lloyd's of London was the first organized insurance company, but it would be wrong to say that it was the first provider of insurance. We know from historical records that ancient merchants in the Mediterranean region went to great lengths to protect the goods they shipped. In fact, they would actually travel with their merchandise to make sure it arrived safely. This must have cost them a lot of time and money, and I'm sure it was pretty dangerous as well. So someone came up with a better solution. Sometime around 3000 BC, The earliest form of insurance began in the form of bottomry, which is a form of insurance that is no longer used. The idea was taken a step further when another type of insurance called the general average was created. Between the 11th and the 18th centuries, more new ideas came along. In 1255, a system of charging insurance premiums was used for the first time in Venice. The income from this was paid out to those traders who experienced losses during shipping. When transoceanic trade became commonplace in the 17th century, the owners of ships obtained loans from investors to finance their trading expeditions. If a ship was lost, the owners were not responsible for paying back the loans. They could be offered money on generous terms like these for the same reason that insurance still works today. Payouts were relatively rare. Most of the ships did make it safely to port. The interest paid on the loans by many ship owners more than compensated for the loss of a few ships to storms or pirates. As worldwide trade grew, so did the amount of money, and so did the demand for this kind of protection. All that money to be made eventually led to formally organized insurance companies. Lloyd's of London started around 1688. Strangely, it didn't start out as an insurance company at all. It was just a simple London coffee house where merchants and bankers often held meetings. At these meetings, insurers would offer contracts to shippers. They would write their names under the specific amount of risk they would accept in exchange for a certain payment. They were soon known as underwriters. This informal association continued for quite a long time. It wasn't until 1769, decades later, that Lloyd's of London became more than just a coffee house. That's when an incorporated group of underwriters was finally formed from the people who had been meeting there. Now answer the questions. Number 26. What is this lecture mainly about? Number 27. According to the lecture, how were early traders said to make sure their goods arrived? Number 28. What was the first form of insurance called? Number 29. According to the speaker, what was Lloyd's of London in the beginning? Questions 30 through 33. Listen to a teacher talking in a class.
Most food and drinks contain calories. There are various kinds of delicious food in the world: Greek salads, French pastries, Chinese noodles, American hamburgers, Italian pasta, and Japanese sushi. But a lot of these foods have many calories. All of these have fat in them. And where there is fat, there are calories. A calorie is a unit of energy, but when you eat too many calories in one day, your body becomes unhealthy. Fat from a greasy hamburger or cheese on pizza has many calories. Peanuts also contain many calories. There are 427 calories in a half cup of peanuts. However, there are very few in vegetables like tomatoes or lettuce. That is because vegetables and fruits are mainly comprised of water. There is a relationship between how many calories a person eats and how easily they get fat. Most children in school need 1,600 to 2,500 calories per day to stay healthy. And young people like to eat fast food. If you consume too many hamburgers, chocolate bars, too much soda pop, and deep-fried food, you will gain weight. You might even get fat. But we all want to stay healthy, so when we exercise, we can get rid of some calories. Some types of exercise help burn off more calories than others. For example, riding a bicycle up a steep mountain road will help you lose more calories than walking for an hour. Here are some tips to stay healthy and burn off the calories that you eat. It is a great idea to be vigorous for at least 1 hour every day. If you eat a chocolate bar, play a sport for more than 1 hour. If you drink a milkshake, ride your bicycle for 1 hour. If you have some French fries and hamburger, go jogging for more than 1 hour.
Now answer the questions. Number 30. What is the main subject of the lecture? Number 31. What can be inferred about the speaker's purpose? Number 32. According to the speaker, why do fruit and vegetables have few calories? Number 33. Which form of exercise was suggested as helping lose more calories? Questions 34 through 37. Listen to part of a discussion in a history class. Mammoth Cave is a popular tourist destination that draws people from all over America and even the world. The cave is a geological wonder, but today we will focus on a less well-known aspect of it, its prehistoric archaeological significance. As it turns out, we're sure our prehistoric ancestors knew about the cave as early as 3,000 years ago. They seem to have been as attracted to its mysteries and what it had to offer.
What would the caves have had inside that prehistoric people wanted? Wouldn't they have been afraid of them and stayed away?
Interesting questions. If they went in just for shelter, they wouldn't have had to go in very deep. But we know that they did go far down into the cave network. Apparently, they did this in search of minerals. Primitive mining tools have been found in parts of the cave that support this conclusion. Cane torches, digging sticks, and other simple tools were found deep inside the cave, the kinds of things that would have been used 25 or 30 centuries ago by early miners as they searched for minerals and dug them out. Exploring caves is still dangerous today. But can you imagine what it was like 3,000 years ago? Gathering those minerals must have been extremely difficult and hazardous. One prehistoric miner who wasn't careful enough, a man whose crushed and dried-out remains were found along a tour route through the cave in 1935, apparently crawled under a big boulder when he met his death.
But what were these people willing to risk death to find? What minerals were they mining?
There was no gold, silver, or diamonds in the cave, to be sure. But there were things they wanted. 2 sulfate minerals are found there that could have been of interest to them, mirabilite and epsomite. We will talk about those in detail in another discussion. Now answer the questions. Number 34. What is the speaker mostly discussing? Number 35. Why is the cave significant? Number 36. According to the speaker, what were the ancient people doing in the cave? Number 37. What did the speaker say was found in the cave in 1935? Questions 38 through 42. Listen to a teacher talking in a science class.
Now, let's briefly discuss one of the less well-known alternatives to burning fossil fuels to produce electricity. There really aren't many that are totally renewable and predictable. Tidal power is one choice that does have both advantages. What I am talking about now is actually using the ocean tides to generate electricity. I doubt any of us have ever seen one, but there are already tidal power stations in operation producing electricity. How one works is simple. Tidal power plants work the same way as hydropower generation facilities. They trap water behind a dam and create energy when they release that water. Both make use of the same energy source, which is
gravity, of course.
Correct. A tidal power plant is basically just a dam with a powerhouse and turbines that is constructed across a tidal flat, estuary, or bay instead of a river. The area behind the dam is called a head pond. Floodgates can be opened and the basin is allowed to fill when the tide is on the rise. As the tide reaches its maximum height, the floodgates are closed. This traps water behind the dam and creates a reservoir of stored energy. When the tide drops, special ducts can be opened and the water is allowed to flow outward through the turbine blades. This spins the turbines and generates electricity. It's unrealistic to think that tidal power will solve all our energy problems. The method has some big limitations. First, there are not that many suitable sites. To be economically feasible, tidal power production requires a difference between high and low tides of about 5 meters. For all the thousands upon thousands of miles of coastline in the world, there are only about 40 places that regularly have tidal changes this dramatic. The next issue is the effect tidal power generation has on the environment. What do you think that could be?
I can't see that it would have an effect. But that doesn't mean it won't affect the environment. Look at the hydroelectric dams that operate basically the same way. They sure have an effect. Okay, but we're talking about the ocean here, not some river.
Well, there may not be much pollution, but there are still environmental issues, and they're pretty significant ones. Tidal power facilities are expensive to build, and they alter the surrounding water ecology. Removing energy from the tide by storing it behind a dam will change water circulation patterns in the head pond, and between the head pond and the ocean. It isn't hard to imagine how this could have a negative effect on organisms living in those areas.
Now answer the questions. Number 38. What is the discussion mainly about? Number 39. According to the discussion, what energy source is being used at tidal power stations? Number 40. According to the discussion, what is required regarding the tides? Number 41. According to the discussion, what happens as the tide reaches its maximum point? Number 42. What is not listed as a downside to tidal energy?